Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week we are here to discuss the 8th episode of the Jim Henson Hour from July 23rd, 1989. And that episode is called Videotape. For some reason, that is kind of explained, but poorly. But today, we are not alone. We are joined by a returning guest to Commitment, the co-owner and editor-in-chief of ToughPigs.com, Mr. Joe Hennes.
Oh, hello.
Jack. Joe.
Me.
Yeah.
That's the energy
guys.
we all need to bring into our days.
Yeah.
Just chanting for yourself in the mirror in the morning. Just me.
I mean,
me,
someone's
me.
got to do it. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to jump into this thing with you guys.
I'll come to your guys' house every morning and stand over your bed and go, Joe. Then I'll fly across the country and go, Matt. Yeah.
You're going to have to time that really, we don't live
I'll
that
be
many
traveling
time
a
zones
lot.
apart.
I'll
Yeah.
be traveling a lot.
I don't think
It's
you can
possible. It's like
afford this,
Santa
Sam.
Claus logic of like, oh, I can hit everyone's
Yeah.
house if I take advantage of the time zones.
I have a whole theory about how he does that. I'll tell you about it someday, but
Let's do that off mic.
yeah.
Or in a whole separate episode. So Joe, the last time you were here, we talked about Little Muppet Monsters.
Everyone's favorite.
Honestly, a highlight of the series, like a highlight of Commitment to me. I think about that episode all the time.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I think
Yeah.
it's my favorite episode, my personal favorite.
Wow.
Not because
Honestly,
of the content,
honored.
but because of our conversation with you, Joe.
Yeah.
Yes, right. I assumed, because why would Little Muppet Monsters suddenly be like,
Well,
oh, that was the best thing?
Right, because I would say, there's a quick challenge here. Sam, name the three main characters from Little Muppet Monsters.
Molly, Tug, and Boo, of course.
Wow, he did it, folks. You can't remember Jerry Nelson half the time, but you remember all three
This
Little
is
Muppet
a
Monsters.
real big problem with me where I couldn't remember 10 presidents probably, but I know like every Dragon Ball Z character. So
Sure, that's how our
I'm
brains
really
work,
messed-
though.
I'm
We've got all
messed
this
up,
like
yeah.
Muppet knowledge that's like taking up space in my head, and
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
pushed out things that are actually useful. I want to say though, like with like talking about Little Muppet Monsters and like how that episode kind of stuck with us. We watched we had a big conversation about Gunko, which was one of the unaired
Yes,
yeah.
great.
things. And since we talked about that, Gunko has come up in conversations several times with me and some of my friends. And
Huh?
like, I mean, because of the podcast, because like
Okay.
it came up with us. And like it's kind of become like one of my favorite Muppet things. Like I can't believe I didn't know about this thing before.
Yeah.
And now here we got to talk about Gunko, and it's a part of my life. We did it.
That's how I felt in the episode. I was like when we watched that one, I was like, I think this is maybe one of the top like 15 things I've ever done, at least. Like it's that was like in a very inspired little nugget. And that's my funnest thing to find on this show is just like that was special. The rest of this is
eat
not
it, great
good,
Muppet
but
caper. Gunko's better.
I mean, could you imagine if they had done something as good as Gunko in the Jim Henson Hour at any point?
No, nothing has even come close. I don't think. Yeah.
There's one moment in this episode that we'll talk about that I feel like
Okay.
it hits one of those peaks, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's the same moment I wrote down.
I bet
there
it
was
is.
also like one moment in this where I was like, that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was the one.
Well, Joe's, Little Muppet Monsters may live fresh in our minds, but you were here the last time almost exactly 2 years ago.
Whoa.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's
We recorded
weird.
that last episode, December 17th, 2023.
What the hell? That's nuts.
And you were in the first episode of 2024. And if all goes according to plan, this is the first episode of 2026.
Wow, Joe.
Whoa.
This is cool.
It seems like
Yeah.
we're starting a tradition here,
I
Our
think
little
that
New
maybe
Year's
we
baby,
should.
Joe Hennes.
Yeah.
which is funny. Do you know when my birthday is?
Is it
It's
January
New Year's
1st?
Day.
Oh my
Jim
God.
Heffers. Yeah.
He is the New Year's baby.
You are.
That's right.
That's why you're wearing that diaper.
Yeah, people can't see this right now.
Well, yeah, that's the reason. That's why I'm wearing
He's
it.
got a diaper on and a top hat.
But not where you think I'm wearing them.
Yeah, neither of those are in the correct place. But we do have Joe here to discuss, maybe not as forgotten of a piece of media as Little Muppet Monsters, but an episode of the Jim Henson Hour that was burned off in the summer of 1989, was later cut down to 30 minutes to air in Canada in the early 2000s for some reason. And just these weird ass episodes of television that are the Jim Henson Hour. And as we've sort of, dived into 1989 and been going through these episodes and also watching Jim on talk shows, we've sort of felt this weird existential vibe happening around Jim and his creative work and what it means to be Jim Henson and keep making new Muppet things at this time, which is not necessarily what I imagined this era of Jim Henson was like, because, I was alive, but I was like 1.5, 2 years old during this stuff. So obviously not comprehending what Jim's work was like near the end of his life. But I'm curious, as you, with all your work through Tough Pigs, have looked back over Jim Henson's career, what does this era sort of, feel like or mean to you? Because obviously this is not prime Muppet time, but Jim is still trying to crank out a bunch of different creative projects.
Once you get past, we'll say like Muppets Take Manhattan, like it probably even started before that, but once you get to like kind of that era of Jim's life, you can tell when you look at his breadth of work that the Muppets, like the Muppet Show characters, were no longer a priority for him. And it's interesting to see him like continually try new things. Like he really loved challenging himself. And like, that's true. I mean, we could talk for an hour just about like throughout his life. He like did a thing, got tired of doing that thing, thought I could do more than this, or I could try something completely out of left field. And he just loved trying new things and like even knowing that they weren't always going to hit. But then also in this same era in the 80s, you could see that he's, experimenting with new things while also recognizing, well, if I make stuff with Muppets in them, people will actually go see them, or they'll actually make a little bit of money, or people will remember, who we are and what we do because we're, in the eye of popular culture. So seeing something like the Jim Henson Hour and the history of the Jim Henson Hour leading up to it, especially when, like, I don't know if you guys, did you watch the Inner Tube pilot for this?
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Yeah. So like you could see like he had these crazy ideas of like how bonkers this thing was going to be. And then probably being told by the studio, no,
Yeah.
we want the Muppet Show. Like just do the thing that everyone wants you to do. And, so he's had to find that balance. I mean, and again, like that even goes back to, the conversations that he had with Lou Lord about financing the Dark Crystal, and him saying, well, I'll let you do the Dark Crystal, but you got to give me Great Muppet Caper.
Right.
There's a balance there. So this is such a blatant, like you have 1 hour, you got to give us the Muppet Show in the first half hour, and then you could do whatever the heck you want with the second half. And I think because of that, and because it's so truncated into one piece, we now know in retrospect, you got to kind of, shit or get off the pot. You got to pick a side. And I think this episode in particular feels like Jim had like a real focus problem of really figuring out what that thing that he wanted to do could be. And yeah, we're just talking about the era. I feel like that's just it's a repeating theme for him.
Yeah, to me, it feels like with Muppet Television, there's like the background of he had to do this, so he's like crossing his arms and being like, fine, but I'm not going to try that hard. Or like, I'm just going to come in and give like the most rote Kermit performance that I can. And then I'm going to go think about the storyteller for a while. And I also think it's interesting that, and I'm excited to watch this stuff, that right after this, he'll do Muppet Vision and he'll do Muppets Go to Disney World, where it's like, he goes back to Muppets, but also he like, it's a little different because those are like projects that probably Disney coordinated with him and they said make us Muppet stuff. But I also wonder if he was just like, okay, I can just make some
Yes.
Muppet stuff. I'm not too worried about it.
I'm so glad you brought that up because the way the story goes from what I've heard, from what I've read, is that when he was trying to make that deal with Disney at the end of his life, part of the deal was that Disney would basically be hiring him as a performer, as a probably a producer and director as well, to do Kermit, to do Muppet related things, in that realm. But also part of the deal was he would basically get a carte blanche budget and to just make whatever he wanted. So it is kind of an extension of what we're seeing here in the Jim Henson Hour, but on a larger scale probably. And I don't know if he ever had any ideas of what he was going to do with that carte blanche idea. But that to me is like, yeah, so he went back, he made a great Muppet special. He made this attraction that people love so much. It is very Muppety, is very Muppet Show, both of those things. And then he would have balanced it out with, something else that would have been like The Storyteller or like Dark Crystal or like, his nightclub in the 1960s. I don't know what he would have done. But that was, I mean, that's a perfect example of what that balance was for him. He just didn't get to finish it.
I wonder, was he around when Pleasure Island at Disney World was around? I feel like, do you remember Pleasure Island?
I know Pleasure Island. I have no idea when Pleasure Island.
That was 90s. I feel like that was solidly in the 90s.
It must have been after him. I wonder if he had been alive then. If he would have been like, hey, you guys are building some nightclubs? Have I got an idea for you?
Oh, it actually opened
Walt
in
Disney's Cyclia. Yeah.
It actually opened in May 1989. So he would have had a chance and maybe some conversations about what they could have done at Pleasure Island.
There's one place, there's like on my like, if I could time travel, I would go to, there was a club that was like the Adventurers Club. And there was like everybody who worked there was like a different character in this big like mansion. And there was like puppets that came out of the wall and talked to you and like masks that would like sass you and stuff like that. And they do like a big thing every night. And it was supposed to be so cool. It sounds a little like weird, maybe like swinger adjacent or something to me.
That's the entire vibe of Pleasure Island to me had that like, okay, so are these just like all parents who left their kids at the hotel to go have like a weird body night out?
Hell yeah.
This is, I don't know what's happening. Why is this exist?
am sad. I'm sad it doesn't exist anymore because when I was a kid, I used to walk through it and look at Jessica Rabbit's huge boobs and be like, fuck yes, this is going to be awesome when I can come here.
Well, now the internet exists, Sam.
Yeah, now I can look at Jessica Rabbit's big boobs anytime I want to, but it's just not the same. If I didn't pay $1,000 to get in, come on.
But the equivalent of that is the Star Wars Hotel. Of like, someday I'm going to have the money. I'm going to be an adult. I can spend my money however I want. And I'm going to stay at the Star Wars Hotel.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely the opposite. Completely asexual. No swinging happening. No swinging allowed at the Star Wars Hotel.
Yeah. It's not part of the scheduled storyline that you have to abide by.
They don't have sex in the Star Wars universe, so we won't be doing that.
Where did Kylo Ren come from? Was he laid from an egg? We'll never know.
Came from an egg.
I feel like everyone in Star Wars was like where did Anakin come from? Like,
he has no dad. Whatever Jesus did, that thing, divine.
What's the word? You guys will figure it out. You'll jump in.
That was a weird line that they
Immaculate
actually had
Conception.
say. Qui-Gon's like, well, who's his father? It's like, yes, it's hard to explain. But the thing Jesus did, and Qui-Gon's like, oh yeah. She's like, yeah, that thing. Oh, well, Sam.
Sorry, what were we talking about?
I don't even know.
I started thinking about Jessica Rabbit too hard.
And then religion brought us back down to earth.
Yeah.
We'll bring it back around to religion in this episode. And Jessica
we were talking about Jim Henson and 1989 and his deal with Disney that was coming up. And it's just like coloring so much of what we're watching right now. And I think seeing, especially the week we watched the interviews that happened the week that he found out Jim Henson Hour was canceled, there was such a weird tone to those interviews and just a weird feeling where it wasn't that Jim seemed like, well, guess we're done here. But there was a little bit of a, okay, I thought that one might work.
Well, I think it's also like if they had done it my way, maybe it would have gone a little bit better.
Yes. I think he definitely has that opinion of it.
And, there's, again, I don't know if I've I think we see this in the interviews, but I heard this mostly in just stories from his coworkers and his family about whenever he did have one of these projects that didn't do as well, like, like Labyrinth, then he took it really personally. And I wonder, I feel like knowing Jim as being such a workaholic, those kinds of workaholics really take things in one extreme or the other when it comes to
Mhm.
failure. It's either like, well, I'm still working on 20 other things, so like I'm just gonna keep moving forward, boom, boom, boom.
Right.
Or it's no, I really poured my heart and soul into it. I didn't go on vacation with my family so that I could work on this thing. And now, we made it 8 episodes in and this thing's already canceled. Like that's rough.
Well, I think he's got a bit of both of those faces that he has to put on it sometimes, because in the Brian J. Jones biography, he talks a lot about in this time period, part of the reason Jim is wanting to sell to Disney is he's really struggling with being the guy running a business and does not love, that part of it. And I think that's why when you see some interviews and he's trying to say, oh yeah, they didn't, they canceled our show, but don't worry, we've got this Muppet movie we want to make and we've got other things going on. Like, he obviously is, trying to make those things actually happen, but he's also trying to make sure that his company knows, yeah, no, like, he's not out of ideas. He's not just going to walk away from this and leave us all high and dry. But yeah, I imagine, you put your name on something, you decide you're going to host it. It's the Jim Henson Hour, and society and TV rejects it.
Well, and it's so obvious, and I wish I knew if this was his idea, and if not, whose idea it was to put his name on it, and to have him host, because it seems to me like this was the time that they were saying, "Oh, this is Walt Disney Presents. This is
Right.
the magical world of Disney, and here's Walt to tell you, from his own mouth and face, like what you're about to see." And Jim, although he had always done these interviews as himself, and like he was a pretty public figure, he didn't love the spotlight. And so I don't know how he would have, I don't think it would have been his call to say, no, we'll just name it after me. I'll be the next Walt Disney. Here we go.
Well, yeah, and I think maybe there was more of an expectation that the name Jim Henson would just carry the weight of anything into the spotlight, and that people would just watch anything with his name on it. And I think, whether it's people at this time had moved beyond wanting to even see Muppets, let alone a show that is mostly not a Muppet show. I don't know. It's a little bizarre to be watching something that at the same time feels like it's trying very hard, but at like the other side of it is, I think Sam said, feels like everyone's phoning some of it in, and whether they're actually phoning it in or not, it actually it comes across in this, I guess we have to make this show because they made us. Which is always a bummer when you feel that when you're watching, even if it's like, a TikTok creator or something, when you can sense that feeling of you're only making this because you feel like you have to and not because you actually want to. It brings everything down. It removes a lot of the joy from watching Muppets when it doesn't feel like Kermit's having a good time. Like, how are you supposed to have a good time if Kermit and Gonzo are just like, yeah, sorry, guys.
Rachel walked in while I was watching this. My wife walked in and she said, Digit was on screen doing something. And she was like, that guy's disgusting. And then she said, the Muppets have lost their way. I think you're kind of right.
And what's interesting too about this era to me is like Jim had always been throughout his entire career really interested in new technologies and new methods of doing things. And the Muppet television segment specifically feels like he was prioritizing, what else can we do with a TV camera? What else can we do in the editing room than story and character? We've got like there's no story in almost any of these episodes of the Muppet television show. There's like we never really get to know any of the characters. Like no one gets a proper introduction. We're just kind of thrown in with like, here's the new Muppet crew, get used to it. And but we get all these cool things with like Jim playing with green screen and chroma key. And matting characters on top of each other and like cool effects, and he's a kid with a toy, and I don't blame him for wanting to play with this stuff,
right?
But that's the star of the show.
Well, and I think it's what results in like the best and worst parts of the show is the same
Mhm.
problem. Is this new cast of characters could be interesting, but we've remarked before, it feels more like there's no relationship between Kermit and any of these people. And so it just feels like Kermit's the boss and all these people work for him, but not in a fun way,
Yeah,
just in an
like all his
actual
friends.
boss and employees kind of way.
This is the 2015 show all over again.
Yeah, but at least like those are familiar faces and there's some heart like connected to that. Here you
Yeah.
have a whole lineup of new people you've never seen, and all you know about them is that some of them are a little afraid of Kermit, some of them are weirdly offensive, and for some reason Link Hogthrob is also one of them.
Yeah.
Right. the link puppet had not deteriorated yet, so let's use it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Jim was like,
but-
maybe there's a second chance for Link to be a star.
But yeah, and I think they're also at such a disadvantage because you go back to the first season of the Muppet Show, and
Mhm.
almost everyone in the main cast is defined by something right off the bat.
Mhm.
Like Kermit is a struggling host, Fozzie is a comedian who's not good at his job, Gonzo is a misunderstood artist, et cetera, like from the get-go, and then we can get to know the characters through that lens. And here it's like, what does Leon do? I don't know what his job is. I don't know what he wants.
No,
I don't know
he's just
who
always
he thinks
there.
he is.
Yeah, the closest we get to that is Vicky is her name.
Yeah.
Like she's somewhat of a Scooter.
She's Scooter.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
Vicky's
She's
Scooter, Leon's Gonzo, Clifford is Floyd. Like they're all just almost that
Yeah.
one guy's Beauregard even looks exactly like
Yeah,
Beauregard, like got hit by
Lindbergh.
a Goomba and turned into
Lindbergh, right.
tiny Beauregard. Yeah.
At least like
But none of them
Lindbergh has a
did, like-
job though. Like Lindbergh
At
is like
least
the
Lindbergh has a
Beauregard.
job. That's right.
Yeah,
But you're also
he's, like,
saying
yeah.
what you're saying about like none of their roles are defined. Like they're also not really making the show. There's this
Mhm.
weird premise with this show that is often abandoned or downright contradicted, that the point of Muppet Television is that Kermit has access to every satellite feed in the known universe, and he is choosing what channels to present to us. Now, that would make some semblance of sense if half of the things he showed us weren't his friends doing something. And so
It's true.
or a host or a guest that he's talking to about what they're going to do. Like, it's not like he turned on the Buster Poindexter channel. It
Yeah.
just,
Well,
they
he turned on
arranged
the
this.
guest star channel, Matt.
Right.
He
that
did say
sounds like
that.
something that's a CCTV kind of thing, not on,
Yeah.
satellite. So I think just the premise being broken sets up this whole show for failure.
Yeah.
And then this episode honestly annoyed me more than the other ones in its overall premise, because you talk about like Jim having this, love for technology and this love for what things can do. And I'm like, great. If you did that for real though, and didn't say like, you could do this like tribute to videotape and video technology, but I feel like it both doesn't do a good job of actually paying tribute. And then also when it decides to break the rules, there's not a good reason to break rules. It just does it because they needed to move on to the next scene.
And I also want to point out, you mentioned at the top of this episode that the episode title is Videotape for some reason.
Yeah.
And these episode titles, do you know where they come from? Have you talked about this?
We
on the
were
podcast?
told and I
Yeah,
forgot.
Matt mentioned it a couple episodes ago that it was like
Yeah.
somebody archiving them or something made up the name.
I
Shane
believe it
maybe
was
told
Danny
us.
Horn.
Yeah.
Like basically just coming up with episode titles of like, I don't know, we need to call it something because we don't have titles. And that kind of just took off to the point where like everything, like IMDb lists the same titles.
Right.
I would assume, just like many other things, because the Muppet Wiki is such a consistent resource, that's even like the official, like Disney would call them by the same episode titles at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. I do have to say, Muppet Wiki, if you're listening, you got to update the page for this episode.
Why?
Because we'll get to the actual episode here in a second, but jumping ahead a little bit, no pun intended, there is a note about the section of the ghost story section.
I noticed this as well,
that
Matt.
says, the kids who play basketball all night outside the room seem to be headless and using their heads for a ball.
Not true. They have heads. They're
They
using
have heads
someone
and they're
else's
using a
head for a ball.
businessman's head as a basketball.
I want to say this, and look, if there's someone from the wiki who's listening to this, if it hasn't already been edited, please feel free. But you guys can edit the wiki. Like that's the purpose of a wiki.
Well,
is you can just
yeah.
go in
Forgot
and
about
do
that.
it.
I don't know
Yes.
how.
But like usually you need like a good source, not just I know I watched it.
Matt's
I mean, here's the
eyeballs.
thing is like, because the admins are really good at their jobs, like if you did just edit that, they would be like, hey, you didn't source. Oh, no, but you're right. You got that.
Yeah.
Like there's been plenty of times where I'm like, hey, I talked to somebody at Disney and here's what they told me. And they're like, all right, we'll just change it. It's like, I don't know how to source that. Like Joe talked to somebody.
I usually just mention it either here on the podcast or in the Discord and let Shane do his magic.
Go get him, Shane.
I did want to mention before we moved on real quick that there was, we were talking earlier about like the little nugget of good thing in different projects. And I did remember when Matt was talking about the premise of the show, that the little nugget in Jim Henson Hour for me is guerrilla television. Like when that was like, oh yeah, this is what they are supposed to be doing. They just don't know how, like, this is the right way to do what they're trying to do with the whole show, where it's like the Muppets have broken in and they're causing chaos at like pirating television. And that was like fun. Not fun enough to make it worth watching this whole thing, but
If
that
it
was the
weren't
nugget
for the
in this one.
fact that Kermit the Frog is not the type of character that would break in,
Pirate television, that's right,
especially this era of Kermit the Frog, that would actually be a great premise for the show of like, we've hacked, ABC or wherever this aired.
Yeah.
We've hacked the Disney Channel. And here we are. We're taking over the feed for the next hour.
Yeah, like Gonzo and Rizzo can host it or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we talked, about Inner Tube and Little Muppet Monsters and all these different concepts of the Muppets get a TV station. What are they going to do with it? And there's fun things that exist in all of these because it is a fun premise.
It's funny that the answer always is like, oh, we don't really know, actually. Like, it's fun to think about, but then once they get there, they're just like, fuck.
And I think that's why is like it keeps coming back is because, we talked with Craig Shemin even about this recently, about how even in Sam and Friends, there was some storylines back then of Sam and Friends taking over the TV studio.
Well, they were aware that they worked in a TV studio. Like they were employees of the TV studio, basically. Yeah. And
so it's been in Jim's brain since day one, that these guys can make a show or can work in a TV studio, and TV, the fascination with TV is what got him into puppeteering in the first place. So this repeated attempt at Muppets make a TV show makes a lot of sense to me. Mm-hmm. It's just bizarre how sometimes these are so similar in some of their premises, like Inner Tube and Muppet Television, and how nothing, like the only real change between Inner Tube and Muppet Television is Kermit is here now. Like most of the rest of it is kind of the same.
Yeah.
I love that parallel between this and Sam and Friends, though. Like, what an interesting bookend to Jim Henson's life.
Yeah.
That he's got these puppet characters that are like breaking in, bursting onto your scene, like it kind of works. It's more that like it's a great hint at like the other Muppet things that you like.
And Kermit's been there the whole time.
He's been here the whole time.
Well, we talked about it a bunch, Sam. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what we watched this week?
We watched Jessica Rabbit's boobs.
Well, that's on my other screen. We watched episode 8 of the Jim Henson Hour, informally known as Videotape, and which aired on July 23rd, 1989. We find ourselves back in Jim's edutainment wonderland, where he introduces the show, which this week features the storyteller episode that stars the Thought Lion, who has been Jim's companion in this computer-generated limbo. Jim notices after the clip plays from the storyteller that the lion is speaking in the clip, and he confronts the lion about this revelation, and the lion kind of mutters at him. At Muppet Central, the theme seems to be pre-recorded segments and features a pre-recorded song from Solid Foam, which is the Muppet Central house band, a pre-recorded ghost story with Fozzie, and a very light storyline about Gonzo pre-recording himself so that he can judge a chicken contest across town and participate in the show at the same time. This all culminates in a pre-recorded concert by Buster Poindexter, who uses TV magic to zap the whole Muppet crew into the pre-recorded segment. then that's basically it. This edition of The Storyteller is called The True Bride, and in true fairy tale fashion, it doesn't really make much sense, and as far as I can tell, it doesn't really mean anything. A troll's daughter runs away, so the troll kidnaps a human girl to act as his servant in her place. He puts the girl, whose name is Anya, up to impossible tasks and then beats her if she fails them. Eventually, her mental anguish is so strong that she inadvertently calls upon the Thought Lion, who, like I said, is that white lion that's sitting next to Jim in the host segments, who in this story seems to be an omnipotent deity. The Thought Lion bids the girl to fall asleep and then finishes each of her impossible tasks. One of these tasks is to build a palace, which the lion does, and in which he places a bottomless pit that he then tricks the troll into falling into. So Anya is free, she gets to keep the castle, and somehow becomes a princess, and then she falls in love with the gardener, but on their wedding day, he disappears. With the lion's help, Anya tracks him down to a different castle, the castle of the troll's daughter, who has the gardener enchanted, but not for revenge or anything. She doesn't even know anything about what happened with the troll earlier. Anya breaks the spell, rides the lion back home with her betrothed, and then tricks the troll's daughter into falling into the pit as well. Back in Jim's world, he tries semi-successfully to get the lion to speak to him, but the lion basically just says, "I don't really want to talk to you, buddy," because the lion, as we've established in other episodes, hates Jim. He's always really rude to him.
He is.
It's true.
And it's even ruder now that we find out that he could have talked this entire time. It's just chosen not to.
And Jim needs help hosting.
I do like your read on that they trick the troll's daughter into falling into that hole, and not just they needed to wrap up the episode so she falls in a hole.
Well, they probably need to just wrap up I think sometimes I'll read the wiki about these things, and I'll read the wiki about the story that the episodes are based on, and sometimes they're the same, where it's just like, and then the troll fell in a hole, and that was the end. Because the Brothers Grimm are like, fuck, I don't know how to end this shit.
Okay, we got another big hole problem here.
Why did I introduce a second troll? God.
Yeah. This is where the term plot hole came from, actually. They're like, we have a hole in the script. All right, well, what if we just put a hole in the script?
Yeah, and then push
Problem
the
solved.
problem down it. Yeah, that's right.
Well, yes, this episode of the Jim Henson Hour. My first question for you both. Is this a good episode of television? Not is this good? Is this, what Jim Henson should be doing, what the Muppets should be doing? Is this episode of television as constructed a good episode of television?
It is, I hate to say it, like, it feels like sacrilege to say it's not good, because I've always held the Jim Henson Hour in an interestingly high regard. I mean, part of it is because it's one of the last things Jim Henson worked on. Part of it is because
you never watched it, so
yeah. So I watched the Jim Henson Hour in its original run. I remember being very excited and trying to capture them on VHS when I could. I had like maybe 2 or 3 episodes, which, at the time was the only way you could rewatch these episodes. So I probably watched this one live. And it was so exciting to see the Muppet characters do anything in that era. So it's like, so it has to be good. Like, you just have to like it. And then maybe they'll make more if you like it enough. But as an adult, looking back and really nitpicking at this thing, no, it's not. It's not a good episode of television. And especially when you put the two halves together, they're both kind of bad in different ways, but they're really bad when you pair them. Like,
that's
this is
a problem.
Yeah. Like, it reminds me of, things like must-see TV Thursdays, where like you get, 2 hours of your favorite sitcoms, and then boom, ER. It's like, all right, well, as a kid, I was like, I'm done. I'm changing the channel.
Oh, I had a very
it feels
different
like, okay,
experience in
you stayed up
childhood
until
than you.
8:30. Now you can turn it off because you don't want to watch Storyteller.
No way. ER was the main attraction, I'd say. It's more like you had like the single guy. You had like Friends, the single guy, Frasier. Remember that? And they put like the really bad one in between.
That's right.
I don't even remember what the single guy was.
I think that's a show. I might have just made it up.
No, it was. I remember
Yeah.
the single guy.
Okay.
Yeah. With
I don't
Jonathan
remember it
Silverman?
existing.
Was he the single guy? Was he
You are
the
correct.
titular single guy? Yeah.
Wow.
He is.
We
Ernest
got a big
Borgnine
single
was
guy.
on that show?
We got a single guy fan over here, everybody.
Yeah.
Because I watched that shit. I watched it all. There was nothing else to do back then.
Yeah.
Then you just knew, well,
Those were the
Tuesdays we
days.
watched this show, and Wednesdays we watched that show, and Thursdays we watched this show. And that was
And the
just
rest
how it
of
was.
the day, we sit and stare at the wall.
That's right.
That's all we do.
Well, read
we
a
go
book,
outside
get
and
out
ride
of
our
here.
bikes. Yeah.
I feel bad for the storyteller, frankly, I think I like the storyteller. I didn't love this episode, but every episode does something interesting. The troll puppets were so cool. The story sucked on this one, but I feel bad for it that it has gotten wedged into this thing that then gets burned off. When I think before it was part of Jim Henson Hour, it was like relatively popular. And if it was something that just popped up by itself on TV every now and then, people would be like, cool, storyteller. But it's just like, it's gotten hidden by this, and that makes me feel bad for everyone involved in it, basically.
It also makes like my experience of watching it worse because
Mhm.
I'm not sitting down to just watch the storyteller like we did previously. I'm
Yeah.
sitting down watching Buster Poindexter finish up a song that's not hot, but should, I guess,
It's
kind of
so close.
is.
It's so close to hot.
And then I'm just like, what just happened? And then Jim's like, now look at this weird troll. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, Jim.
Yeah, you're like
fine.
fatigued. You're fatigued from being like, I don't want to watch Muppet television anymore. And then the storyteller starts, and then it's like, oh God, I was only halfway done.
But this
Yeah.
is also like a weird thing that happens in this era where they like found a bunch of different ways to showcase these like horrible looking characters that don't always have to be like cutesy Muppets, but like stuff like
Yeah.
the storyteller, like
Yeah.
the Ghost of Fafner Hall, like
God, I'm
the
so afraid of it.
like these like fleshy character like puppet
Yeah.
things that are like kind of I think I can only think of it as maybe this worked in the UK. And I don't know why I feel that way, but like it's
Because
just
of
not
that
for
mu-
us. But at least we
Yeah.
get to see it. They
We
brought it
know
over
they like
here
that stuff
as a treat.
because of that music video. What's it? The Land of Confusion or whatever? Is that what it's
Yes, the Land of
called?
Confusion,
Yeah.
which had the what the heck was the name of those puppets? It's I'm drawing a blank, but Louise Gold was a part of that troupe that had all those caricature puppets.
Spitting Image is the
Spitting
puppets.
Image, thank you.
Right. Spitting
That
Image.
is a bunch of gross looking puppets. And the UK
Yeah,
loves that
yeah.
shit.
But it works for those caricatures because we want to see
Yes.
them looking weird and fleshy.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
for Muppet stuff, like not so much. And I think that's one of the reasons why Sam, your wife looked at Digit and was like, ugh. Even though Digit's the one character I feel like that works for because he's supposed to be a little otherworldly.
Digit's
Yeah.
pretty close. Yeah. I think
I mean,
Digit
even
is okay.
the problem is, like, Kermit tries to make us love Digit in this for a second, and he tries to give us a fun fact about Digit, and his fun fact is the most boring ass shit I've ever heard, where he's just like, oh yeah, he's got a real headphone. He's actually got speakers inside of his head. And we're like, okay.
Shut up.
Will that have any
Well,
effect
he's a
on the plot,
robot
Kermit?
man.
Will will that
Whoa.
matter at all? No, because it's the Jim Henson Hour, and nothing's ever actually a problem. There's a power outage in this episode, and nothing happens.
Oh yeah, and even whatever the I can't remember any of their names. She's just like, oh well, I guess it ended before I could do anything.
Yeah, Vicky comes in and goes,
Yeah.
oh, the emergency's over.
They fell down a hole.
Oh boy. Well, we should probably talk, a bit more structurally about this so people who have maybe not gone through the pain of watching it can understand what we're talking about here. It opens up with solid foam. It's still going to bug me. Every time somebody in this is like, we made a pre-recorded thing, I'm like, literally, that's what you're doing every week on this show.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
That's not new. This is not a live television show. You've never tried to break the premise of this. All you do is make pre-recorded things and show pre-recorded things. This is not special.
And also that's
would-
the problem with the show. That they're all like
But
this.
that would only work if they were making the Muppet Show. Because the Muppet Show in
Yeah.
the universe is a stage
Yeah.
show. If they did an
Yeah.
episode of the Muppet Show where they were like,
That's
we're
right.
pre-recording this one, like I want to see what that looks like. It's like the Harry Belafonte episode where Fozzie Bear's like, I'm gonna write this episode, even though in universe
Right.
we're all just saying things. Like there's no script.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I could see them turning that into a story.
If someone tried to bring video technology into the Muppet Show and Kermit was like, I don't know about this. Like, we're a live stage show. And Gonzo was like, trust me, I've got this new video camera. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
And he shows this weird art film with a bunch of like fast-paced editing, like that Jim would love.
It's like the Ring video.
And yeah, Statler and Waldorf just melt in their box. They're like, what happened? But instead, we just get a bunch of normal stuff that would happen on this show anyways. But people tell us beforehand, hey, this one's pre-recorded.
I had written down that all of the good stuff in Muppet Television could have been in like one special called Muppet Television where they're doing all these different like effects. But yeah, a Muppet Show in a different universe where the Muppet Show lasted until 1989. This would have been a great episode of the Muppet
Sam,
Show. Yeah.
That's just the Muppet Show Sex and Violence is what that is. Muppet Show Sex and Violence is what you just described and better than this.
Well, and here's the other thing that I don't know if you guys have talked about this with all those screens that are happening in the background with all these other fun Muppet things. Again, like watching this in 1988 or whenever it was live, there was no way at that time to watch the Muppet Show. Like it wasn't on Nickelodeon in reruns yet or anything like that. So I had no way of ever really watching these things outside of a few specials, clip compilations, VHS tapes. And being able to, like, basically watching like this stuff happening that I don't care about with these characters I've never met before, and then looking in the back corner and like, oh, there's Marvin Suggs. I want to watch that. Why aren't you cutting to that thing? That's great.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Sam Eagle is just throughout this entire episode seems to be giving a speech on a channel with ink spots behind him, and they never cut to him. We have no idea what he's been talking about for the last hour, but
yeah.
It is odd. It feels like an active choice that Kermit sees them and is like, yeah, Digit, not those guys anymore. We're done with those guys.
They're mad at me.
Yeah. There's been a falling out, I think, between Kermit and his old pals because Gonzo's the only one willing to hang out with him anymore.
And Link Hongthrob.
Well,
and
he actually doesn't want Link there. Link just shows up.
But isn't that all the Muppets, right?
Yeah.
Like Kermit doesn't want to hang out with these guys.
It's sweet. Now it's Leon who's like, hey, where's my babes in bikinis?
Well, I agree with him, though.
Bikinis.
He
rolls his eyes like Wembley.
Episodes ago.
He did. Yeah, he
wow.
did.
Yeah.
Terrible.
He's a terrible, like, lizard figment gonzo mashup that it just wants babes all the time. He should be Sam's favorite Muppet.
He should be. Oh, my gosh. Absolutely. But Rizzo does the same thing he does later, where Rizzo would be like, come on, let's see something.
Babes bikinis.
You know?
Yeah. I think
That's
that
Rizzo
also
babes
does
bikinis.
other things. That's not the only thing he does.
Yes, he also eats food. Joe, did you watch this live? Did you already say like as it aired?
I think so. It's hard to remember. So like I said, I taped a few of them off TV. So the ones that I had watched over and over again back then, like I obviously knew I watched those live, but this one we did not tape. So I don't remember.
So you don't have any strong memories of this one necessarily?
I think I remember Buster Poindexter specifically.
How could you forget?
That stood up.
But in general, you watched the Jim Henson Hour as it aired. Like, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. It was like, you know, me being like a young Muppet fan and my parents being supportive of that. It was one of those like, oh, there's a new Muppet thing on television. Well, Joe's really going to like this. We're going to make sure every Friday night we are in front of the TV.
That's
10 minutes before it starts. We're not going to miss the beginning.
And then a month later, they were like, wait a minute, where's it at? Where did it go?
I mean, yes.
Oh, Joe, it's not on.
Hearing what did they? Oh, no, I'm getting confused with Muppets Tonight. We did the same thing with Muppets Tonight. And then they moved it to the Disney Channel, but we didn't have the Disney Channel. So it was like good news and bad news.
Well, I got into it a little bit, but the opening of this episode is Solid Foam is here trying to stake their claim as the Muppet Television house band on their second appearance. And Beard is telling Kermit that they have pre-taped a performance. But while he does that, groupies take over the studio and chase in Flash, another member of Solid Foam.
So, like, I don't know. Like, when we saw Solid Foam the first time, did they have dialogue or was it just a song?
I don't
just have been a band so far, like performing.
I don't think we've ever heard from Beard at the very least, or Flash. Yeah, I don't think so.
So Flash, it seems like his thing here is that he speaks and you can't understand him.
He's a real lips.
Right. So that's what I was going to say is so Flash is performed by Steve Whitmire, who also performs lips. And later on, much more recently, with Peter Linz performing lips, he does that Boomhauer thing. So there's kind of a weird connection there. I don't have anything else to say about that, but look at that. How about that?
I wonder if they knew. Do you think they knew that Flash existed when they came up with that character?
We should ask Peter Linz.
I was going to say, are you saying, does Peter Linz know who Flash is the question?
Yes. That's my question.
I would be very curious if you just said, like, at a Q&A, hello, Peter? Yes. My main question, Flash, the Muppet. Do you know who that is?
I'll have to bring I'll have to bring a clip or something. Like, let's all watch this first. I'm casting
not
it to
the guy who runs fast, not the sloth from Zootopia.
No,
Not
Yeah.
Flash
Not
Gordon.
not Flash Gordon, not Spider-Man's friend Flash.
Yep.
Maybe
Yeah,
like
the
Keep going, keep going.
87th most popular Flash.
yeah.
I did enjoy hearing Beard because obviously a Jerry Nelson character is always lovely to hear, and that
Yeah.
it just feels like, I don't know, it feels
Floyd.
like a character. Well, yes, but like a little bit of like a Southern Floyd, like a character that
Yeah.
Jerry would have played on the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this feels like a voice Jerry has pulled out before.
Yeah.
And I feel like this performance, and more so in the song, and we'll talk about that in a minute,
Mhm.
it feels like Jerry Nelson is playing himself a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
totally.
I think that, with most of the Muppet performers, as the years go on, your core character, like you kind of become that, like it, like
Right.
Gonzo's voice started as like that, like, really high scratchy thing. And then over the years, it's a little bit closer to Dave Goelz's speaking voice.
Yeah.
Same with Kermit for both, Jim and Steve. I feel like that's happened with most of these guys, but Jerry, I don't think any of his characters really started sounding like himself. Like they all were
Yeah.
really over the top. And so this is maybe guessing, this was an opportunity for him to just be like, I'm just going to do this.
I also wonder about like where those start and as they both creep into the middle. Like I think there is, yes, the puppet sounds more like their talking voice, but I have to imagine through the years their normal speaking voice also is changing a little bit as they become more of a performer. Like
Mhm.
I feel like, if I listen to things I did on the internet 15 years ago, I am not as animated or as loud as I have like now after years of podcasting and doing things on the internet. My normal speaking voice is more animated. And so I imagine that if you listen to like an early Dave Goelz interview versus a Dave Goelz interview 15 years later, he's also going to sound a little different day to day.
That's true.
I think the Dave Gonzo one is so interesting too, because Gonzo started off such a freak, but I think Dave is usually like, I don't know if I read this or just assume that he's a little bit more like straight and less like of a hippie than the rest of the Muppet guys. And then Gonzo starts like wearing a sweater vest and like having like a wife, and it's like he's the most normal. He's like so normal compared to the rest of them. Yeah, plumbing company. Like in
everyone else is
abstract,
still out there trying to make their creative dreams come true. Fozzie's performing at a hotel, and Gonzo's like, I settled down, guys. Okay.
Yeah. And in abstract, that's like a goofy company to have. It's like funny to say a plumbing company, but also it's like the most practical thing. Yeah. Of any,
everyone
like,
poops.
and he was doing great.
AI
He
is
was
not
very
going to take
lucrative.
your job if you have
Yeah.
a plumbing company.
That's
You
right.
still need plumbers.
Well, there are AI toilets now, so
Get out of here.
Yeah.
there are. It's true.
They're not going to build the toilet for me, though.
No. Well, not yet.
Well, I was hoping as this, episode opened with the groupies taking over the studio, and then we come back and the groupies are still there, and there's even more of them chasing after Flash. I thought this might be, one of your classic Muppet Show gags where they have to deal with somebody taking over the backstage throughout the entire show, whether it's chickens or pigs or whatever. Nope, sorry, because the best character in the show is here, Bean Bunny, and the groupies just follow him off screen.
Yeah. We got 2 or 3 other plots to burn through before the end of this episode, so we got to get
Well, and
moving.
like, didn't we already do this in the Sylvester Stallone episode? Or
yeah, but that was a long time ago. That was a long time.
Yeah, no one remembers that.
Literally,
Joe.
nobody remembers, and there was no way to watch it back then.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, you can get away with doing the same plot many, many times.
They could've just
hell,
used the
Rolf
same
and Jimmy Dean did the
scripts.
same script multiple times,
Yeah, that's right.
assuming that no one had seen the other episodes.
So, what are you taping this? What are you, a millionaire? You're a Rockefeller over there?
Well, speaking of taping things and pre-recording them, we do get the Solid Foam music video for The Music Just Keeps On Rolling Along, which is fine, but
I thought it sucked. I hated it.
Oh,
Well-
get out of here. Oh, huge disagree. But sorry, go on.
in a world
Finish
where
up.
you can do anything because you've made a puppet show full of wacky, zany characters, to do a straightforward, boring music video is a choice.
Of an original song too. Like I think if it had been a cover, it would have been a little bit more like, okay, it's like a Muppet spin on it. But an original song is just like, what are you guys doing? Somebody wrote this song and they were like, I got a great song, guys. We got to do this one.
So
yeah, I'm on Sam's side. This sucks.
the big thing here, fair enough. First of all, I think the song is a bop. I like the song a lot. And I don't feel like the Muppets need to go crazy with every music performance that they do. I feel like there's actually a little bit more of a reliance in modern days, by which I mean like the last 30 years, where it's like everything that they do, there's got to be an extra thing on top of it. Whereas like you go back to the Muppet Show, and sometimes it's just Floyd sitting with his guitar and singing a song, and that's okay. So I don't mind. I mean, you make a good point that, yes, the premise of the show says they should be doing more than just playing the song, but I think it's fine because the song is the star of this bit. It doesn't have to be the characters necessarily. And of course, like the thing that I think a lot of people are thinking is this song is spotlighted in Secrets of the Muppets. And we see the background and like how the performers performing this song. And because Secret of the Muppets was played outside of the Jim Henson Hour, we saw it. I remember seeing it on Nickelodeon when they would show Muppet specials and Muppet shorts. We were more familiar with this song than probably anything else from the Jim Henson Hour.
Okay. We haven't watched that yet, so
No, that's still in the future.
I spoiled
for
a
us.
secret from Secret of the Muppets.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I think for me, I totally agree that the Floyd moments work on the Muppet Show, and that's not just because we know and love Floyd. Like, I think it's something about, I don't know, like I need an ingredient there that is either I know and love this character, so I want to watch them do a thing, or I know and love this song, I want to hear their spin on it, or this is an interesting premise, or they are doing something wacky with it. And I just felt like for me, this didn't have any of those pieces where I didn't love the song, I didn't know the song, I don't know these guys. It just felt like it was like being pushed to me as like, you'll like this, right?
Yeah,
that's fair. I didn't.
You're 100% right about the characters. I want to make an exception for Digit, not just because we know him a little bit more, or he's a little bit more in the Muppet fan zeitgeist, but looking at him in this music video specifically, and the way that he moves, like you immediately know, like he's a machine man. Yeah. And he's on the keyboards and the synthesizers with a thing plugged into his ear. You get exactly who he is off the bat. But the important thing here is the way that he moves, and he moves like no other Muppet. And the fact that we've gotten to this point in Muppet history where like Jim's been doing this for decades, and we're still finding new ways to do like general puppetry. I love watching him. I love he's got the jerky way of moving. He's got the talking heads suit on. So like when he moves his shoulders, like things move in different ways. There's a bit where he's walking forward, and then I think his body moves,
turns backwards,
but his head doesn't.
His body turns backwards and he keeps walking forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was
like,
cool.
That's great. That's great puppet stuff and simple. Like you don't need like high tech to do it. And I don't remember the last time they created a new character, a regular character that didn't just look different, but actually moved extremely different than everyone else.
I love Clifford, and I think Beard is okay. Maybe really I just don't want to see Flash. That's my big problem.
Which Flash was also in Inner Tube, so they're banking on Flash.
Oh, yeah.
They spent all that money building a puppet. They're going to use it.
Yeah.
That could have been reused for any background caveman in any sketch ever.
It's just that he looks like a real human, that they tried to create like a Caucasian man.
Yeah.
With, specific proportions. And he's got the mullet. And like, I get maybe they're trying to make him look like Steve Whitmire from that era. But I don't know. I kind of would rather see a weird character. I'd rather it be a monster or a penguin or, whatever, something different.
Just like a green
some
guy. Just be a green guy or something. And it sucks to see it also sucks to see Dr. Teeth back there and be like, hey, he should just be out here playing the song.
As if Jim wasn't there to perform this character.
It is always weird when like Dr. Teeth, this is like the second or third time we've seen Dr. Teeth just sitting in the background of his thing.
Booth. Yeah.
And doesn't it make it seem like they're literally retiring these characters? Like I get, oh yeah, we have new characters we want to spotlight. We don't want to keep looking backward. But it makes it seem to me like Dr. Teeth has been doing this like since the 1960s, and he's old now. He can't play the piano like he used to. So we're going to put him in the booth. He's going to be a producer. He's kind of making his exit.
Yeah. It's how Rolf has felt for a while. Like Rolf, sometimes even on the Muppet Show, but since the Muppet Show especially, there's so many times where Rolf is the old timer. He's like, oh yeah, I've been doing this forever, that you're like, oh yeah, maybe Rolf needs a nap. Maybe he just needs to go lay down. But it's very interesting to have that sort of I mean, especially Dr. Teeth, who is never a normal like character when he's in a sketch or in a song. Like he is gonna break out and do something wild. So to see him so reserved and just chilling in the background is actually more unnerving.
He does take music seriously, though. He wouldn't
That's
want to
true.
mess up there.
But then why not let that be a plot point? Because right after this, Kermit is disappointed to hear that apparently all the music here was made in a computer.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even know if these guys can call themselves musicians, even though they were playing guitars and saxophones. So I'm not exactly sure what they're talking about. I guess the pre-recorded
literally
nature
live.
was
Like they were literally playing it live.
Pre-recorded.
It was pre-recorded, Joe.
No, but they were playing it live to tape.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
Kermit doesn't
no.
know that.
Something about that doesn't add up, but Kermit does get
What do
upset.
you mean he doesn't
by
know
the
that?
idea.
He's there. He's watching on the screen. He can see them doing it.
Kermit was watching the freaking fish wrestling channel over on the other side.
That's
But this
fair.
is part of a pattern with Jim lately where he does come out pretty strongly against computer stuff. I feel
It's
like we've seen
interesting.
quite a bit of that.
There's a running theme of embracing technology with things like Waldo C. Graphic, while at the
Yeah.
same time
Remembering that
reiterating-
only people can be artists. He said that a number of times. Yeah.
yeah.
That's a good point. And like, I mean, there's obviously a difference between creating a CG character and creating a performable CG character.
Totally.
Like there's an
Yeah.
actual
Mhm.
human element in,
Right.
Yeah.
in bringing Waldo to life. And, but here's the thing is like, so, okay, they say like the band, like they played with synthesizers made by computers, digital harmonizing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we know now in 2025 that all of those things are actually like, there's a lot of creativity that goes into creating
Yeah.
music even with those tools. That's the thing that Jim loved doing, is using those tools
Mhm.
to make something that's a little bit different. What would have been bad if if they had gone into a computer and like typed out, make me a song performed by Flash and
Ooh,
Beard. And,
what a
and
terrifying
Digit.
world you've
Yeah. No,
imagined here, Joe.
I'm making this up off the spot. Like this can't. This
What
is
a
sci-fi
nightmare
stuff,
scenario.
You know?
Could you imagine,
Yeah.
artificial
would be-
bands like charting on Spotify? What? Ugh, gross.
Yeah. But also like just to flip that a little bit is, I mean, for real life, for us watching this and knowing not only was this created by real people, but hearing the real singing voices of Steve Whitmire and Jerry Nelson and Kevin Clash, and not really doing like crazy character voices, and just like hearing them perform as if they're
Yeah.
a real band is incredibly satisfying to me. As opposed to like if Dr. Teeth was there and then like Dr. Teeth's doing his voice and he's doing a character and like it's got to be over the top because that's what we expect from our Muppets.
I do enjoy Jerry Nelson's album a bit because of that. Like he has an album called Truro Daydreams that comes out in like 2009. And there is something on that album that's really nice about that, where it's Jerry Nelson singing as Jerry Nelson, but he also has a few other Muppet performers like Kevin Clash and Fran Brill just singing songs on there. And it is nice to hear them just having a good time singing some songs and not having to like perform.
It's delightful. There's also a couple of behind the scenes videos of that out there for people to find.
Mhm.
I believe it's on YouTube.
As Sam mentioned earlier, Kermit tells Gonzo he needs to organize the closing number, but we find out that Gonzo is judging a poultry show on the other side of town, which we later find out has been rigged for the last 3 years because Camilla keeps winning.
Or she's the hottest chicken of all time.
Okay. I hadn't thought about it that way, but you could be correct.
Or there's the theory that whichever chicken is closest to Gonzo at that moment
Yes.
is Camilla. So
Maybe that's how
so
he
just
he picks a
Yeah.
new Camilla every year. He is just
Oh!
like, this.
Yeah,
this is
whoever
this
wins
year's
this
Camilla.
competition. Weird.
This is my
Camilla keeps
Camilla.
winning. Kermit's just like, Gonzo, that is not the same chicken.
And the old Camilla is ushered out the back.
Yeah.
right into the Swedish chef's kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, that's too grim. I don't like that theory because I love Camilla and I think she deserves
Yeah.
to be her own chicken.
We do get another Bootsy and Brad sketch in this episode, as Kermit calls it the Toy Tea Party on Channel 16. The other options were Fish Wrestling, How to Tie-Dye Waffles, and the All Classical Drama Channel.
I do like that Kermit just says, I hate fish wrestling.
I think he says, I'm tired of fish wrestling or something
No,
like
he's
that.
tired of the tie-dye waffles. He
Oh, that's
hates
what it
fish
is.
wrestling. Yeah.
And I also like the how dull already drama in this context is dull, but the fact that it's just
Mhm.
like, and drama is boring. It's like you couldn't have come up with a joke there.
Well, to me, yeah. There's a thing that happens around the Muppets. This happens, I feel like, in many, many different contexts. But what really seals it for me is the how to tie-dye waffles is this weird category of Muppet joke that feels like you're trying to write a Muppet joke.
Yes.
And I hope that makes sense to anyone who just heard those words come out of my mouth. But there is like a stink to it sometimes where you just write a combination of words that you're like, yeah, that's weird enough for the Muppets.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, but it's not a joke. It's just a weird combination of words.
It's one of my least favorite Muppet things that comes up way too often, especially with Gonzo, where it's like tap dancing, tapioca, linoleum, chicken. And it's like,
and the first time you do
sounds
that
like it.
on the
That's
Muppet
good.
Show 3 times, you're like, this is a weird guy, whatever. And then now after 40, 50 years, you're like, oh, okay. It is just like a Mad Libs of
Also,
weird
sometimes
shit.
on the Muppet Show, they would actually show it too. And
That's
then
different.
eventually they changed to just saying it. Yeah.
Yeah, like if somebody like was walking with like tie-dyed waffles and he says, I'm tired of tie-dyed waffles, and they're like, okay.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, what's not funny is Bootsy and Brad and a giant creepy talking teddy bear.
The teddy bear was close to funny. I thought the teddy bear was a little funny.
Seth MacFarlane watched this and was like, I've got some ideas. So we got a giant teddy bear that sounds a little bit like Oscar the Grouch, who's hitting on Bootsy and on Sergeant Killer Death Machine.
Yes.
But doesn't like Brad.
No.
I mean, join the club.
Who would like Brad?
He's so whiny in this one, yeah.
So I'm sure you guys have made some connections to the Bootsy and Brad stuff to the Barbie movie, which are obviously obvious. But this one in particular felt very much like Toy Story 3 because you got Barbie and Ken and Lotso and the Army Men.
Mr. Bear, yeah.
And, I think they're stealing ideas. I think this is a Christmas toy situation all over again.
Yeah. This is where they got the idea, perhaps.
This is the problem, though, is the Bootsy and Brad sketch makes me madder than most things on this show because the premise is just broken. Like, they jump back and forth between this is happening because the little girl is doing this and the little girl has no control over these living toys because,
they're shooting fire and stuff. And she's like, whoa.
Yeah. She put the teddy bear in there to make this scene happen. So in her brain, the teddy bear is showing up for the tea party. Previously, she had strapped Brad to a toy rocket and blew him up, and that was fun. But in this, like the G.I. Joe Sergeant Killer Death Machine walks in and she seems shocked. She has to protect her dog from the flamethrower that he's apparently actually shooting in the room. And so it just switches its premise in a way where I'm like, now I don't care anymore because I don't know why any of this is happening. Are these toys? Are these just sitcom actors? What's happening?
Well, and it's not a story. It's just things that happen. Yeah, they're just like, oh, the toys are playing, and things got dark for a second there.
But it's not even like a fun premise where it's like this is only happening because they're toys. Like, and that's like the only time I've liked a Bootsy and Brad is when they shoot him on a rocket and he breaks into pieces, and then he like is seen on the couch and his like arms and legs are all over the place, and I'm like, oh, good, that's happening because he's a toy.
Yeah,
right.
I think to me it's not. It's like maybe the show. This isn't the right show for this premise. Like, I think if it was in a different context, I would not be as like, I wouldn't think about it as hard, or like I would enjoy it a little bit more if it was like, I don't know, like a SNL sketch or something like that. Like if it was just not part of this Muppet television thing where you have to think like, why?
I think what you're saying is you like the Toy Story movies. That's how you fix this premise is the toys come to life. They all have their own personalities, their own shtick, a little adventure. And then let's crank these stories out for another 6 movies.
Yeah, I think it's just
until Tom Hanks dies. Yeah, that's it.
We've talked about the lack of recurring bits on this show and how they'll set something up as if it's going to be a recurring bit, and then it never comes back, or it comes back once in an episode that never aired. And I think this is weird for this to be one of the things that does come back repeatedly and feels so outside of the rest of the show. And just never really works for me.
I agree. It also, like, humans, we could talk about this again with the ghost story, but like too many humans on this thing.
Yeah. And too many,
like, I do not care about
uninteresting humans who aren't the guests of the show.
Right.
Yeah.
If you had kept putting like your guest, like the Muppet Show, like if Buster Poindexter walked into the toy room or whatever, and be like, all right, this could be interesting. He looks like a toy.
Yeah.
We check in again with Gonzo, who is still here, but surprise, he's not. He's not here, actually. He's pre-recorded, which they prove by rewinding Gonzo. And this is one of those things where you just kind of have to accept that this is the logic of what's happening right now.
I like this part. Shut up. This was a cool part.
I
I
think
completely agree with Sam. This is
I
delightful.
don't.
Gonzo knew
think-
everything that was going to happen. So he,
Yeah, I think the moment
recorded it all
Gonzo and
perfectly.
Kermit touched each other, I was like,
Yes. Yep.
you broke
That
it a
was
little
not
bit.
great.
They had no rules. They just went with it.
Right. Yes.
And it's not, it makes sense if there's some sort of like time travel thing happening with him,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but not he's on videotape and therefore can be fast forwarded, rewinded, etc.
There's a great Mystery Science Theater host segment where they're all out of sync in time with each other because they go through like a wormhole or something like that. So they all walk in and say the scene, but like, and you put it together as it goes, and then it like loops around and stuff, which is like a better version of this. But I still thought this was pretty fun.
And it's a fun, like weird thing for Gonzo to do that doesn't involve either
Yes.
like a weird Daredevil stunt or tapioca, limoncello,
Yes.
chicken.
Gonzo being casually weird doesn't happen
Yes.
enough. So I will accept
Correct.
this into my life, into my heart.
Also, like the tag at the end of Vicky just being like, it's the worst tape of Gonzo I've ever seen. I love that. They actually landed a joke. Like they ended a scene, landed a joke, move on.
I do think that earlier Kermit and Gonzo scene where they first established that Gonzo's leaving, I did feel like was one of the worst performances by either of those two people that I've seen, where they're both just like, I'm going away. Okay, why are you doing that? Like that was just like, you guys are just it felt so phoned in. But anyway, that was a while ago.
I mean, and then again, when we compare things to things we've seen on the Muppet Show too, like when characters are quitting or getting fired from the Muppet Show or not going to help Kermit put on his show, it is a huge
It's the whole
deal.
episode. Yeah.
Yeah. And Kermit cares and isn't just like, yeah, we'll probably figure it out.
We have
You forgot.
9,000 other channels here.
Yes,
Yeah.
I will have forgotten this by next scene.
There is a brief power failure, which serves us only, I guess, for Kermit to throw to a ghost story, which he can still do even though there's no power.
And that he's not in, even though he gets literally sucked into the television where it's playing.
My favorite moment of the episode is a big creepy hand pulling Kermit into a TV. And then that doesn't go anywhere.
Kermit's going to be stuck in this ghost story and then is not to be seen.
Instead, we get a ghost story starring Fozzie Bear, who rents a room from an old lady, unfortunately played by Chris Langham. Fozzie's going to Wall Street to get rich as a stockbroker. There's a lot going on. And I'm realizing as I'm like thinking about this, there's so much going on in this brief ghost story.
I always knew like when I was doing the Fraggle Rock recaps, the longer my recap was, the worse the episode was, because you couldn't just say like, they do this and this, and then they learn this lesson. You have to say, then this thing happens because this happened, and then that happened because of, and that's what this is like.
Yeah, Chris Langham, as the old lady says, don't open that closet door, very dramatically. There's a creepy knock on that door. A shape tries to come through Freddy Krueger style. And then it's a headless man. Fozzie runs outside. Some kids are playing basketball. They set that up earlier. They throw a ball at him, which turns out to be a businessman's head. And the businessman says, you did as you were told and got ahead. Here is your wealth.
I hate this.
I hate this too. This sucks.
I hate it
What
so much.
specifically?
So again, like Fozzie and a bunch of humans that we've never seen before, like that are not celebrities, they're not funny character actors, they're just the writers of the show. Like I hate that. Fozzie, we've seen him in a haunted house before, with the Vincent Price episode. Like we know like what what he would look like in that scenario. And here he's just like, I'm just a guy. And that's it. So he's not being Fozzie, he's not being funny. And even like beyond the Fozzie stuff, nothing about it is funny. It's actually quite scary for young audiences. There's nothing good about this one. I really don't like it.
It's building up to this payoff, for lack of a accurate word, to because the book title says like get ahead in stocks or whatever it is, and somebody just thought like, oh yeah, get ahead in business. Oh, here's a human head. And they went, okay, now what do we do with that?
And maybe they were
premise?
like, oh yeah, I saw Tales from the Crypt last night. I'll make it a ghost story for no reason or something.
Well, and I get the feeling sometimes with these Muppet things specifically from the 80s and 90s, where you've got something that's subpar, but you go, you know what? Frank will fix it. And you get Frank Oz in there, and Frank spins it into gold because that's what he does.
Yeah.
And here's a prime example of like Frank can't fix this one. Like Fozzie doesn't have enough to do to make this funny or interesting.
Like Miss Piggy's Hollywood was like one of the best things we've watched on Jim Henson Hour.
Yeah.
And it was so apparent immediately of like, yeah, no, Frank is necessary to,
Yeah.
to this
I mean,
working.
the storyline of that one is almost like we have to do everything we can to save this flailing production. So I guess it kind of fits.
Yeah.
But Fozzie comes away from this okay. He does not. His reputation isn't marred. I feel like it's not his fault.
And he's loaded now.
You know what would be
He's
better
also very
though?
rich.
If it turned out Fozzie wrote this.
Oh,
Like
and they said you
Fozzie-
forgot to put any jokes in this, Fozzie.
Or like Fozzie tried his hand at writing a ghost story
Yeah.
and then ends it with a punchline. And Kermit's like, what was that? I thought you wrote a ghost story. He's like, but you know.
Yeah, he runs in at the beginning and he's like, Kermit, I pre-recorded something too. I wrote a ghost story. That would have been so much like the Kermit getting pulled into the TV was cool, but that would have been a better setup.
Actually, it would have been better if Fozzie was the headless man, because then he gets to deliver the "you did it, you got ahead in business." You know,
Yeah,
because like it wants to be a Shaggy Dog story, and it's not. Like it's just a bad punchline.
Yeah.
Well, and like a lot of, like we've talked about again, like a lot of jokes and premises on Jim Henson Hour feel like first draft. They went, that's good enough. Let's move on.
Yep.
And
We're
the
on a
idea
schedule,
that
gotta
you have to set up this premise of, oh yeah, these boys outside play basketball at all hours of the night. You're like, okay, sure. And that's because that's the idea they had to introduce a human head into this story was these kids need to be playing basketball. But they can't be playing basketball during the day because that's not creepy enough.
That's not scary.
So,
well, and you've got Chris Langham's old lady character who's trying to be funny, but like let Fozzie be funny. Why are you here?
Yeah. Like funny, but also legitimately creepy at the same time. And so it's just, there's so many ideas blended together, but like you didn't finish blending it. You just like stopped halfway. You're like, and there's some chunks. It's fine.
Yep. I'll tell you what I love about this is Fozzie Bear's pajamas that are
he does have good
pattern like his tie.
Oh, I did not
cute.
even notice that. But yes,
It's
that's
very
right.
cute.
That's cute.
Well, Kermit gets tossed out of the TV. He does as he usually does after something not that interesting happens. He gives us a wry little comment that doesn't make us like it more. He says a few laughs, a little decapitation, and a good old-fashioned comedy.
Thanks, Jim.
Shut up, Kermit.
Yeah. I mean, like we've said before, there's so many times that Kermit doesn't need to speak after something, but because they have no laugh track or music in this show, so often it just feels like Kermit has to say something, but all he says is, well, that happened.
Yeah, he's got to fill the silence.
Yeah.
That's his real job. He's not really producing anything. He's just filling the awkward silence.
He's a color commentator, yeah.
One of us. Well,
Vicky lets us know the emergency is over. The power just came back on because no problem on this show is ever really a problem and solves itself immediately. Bean is jumping around in one of the TV shows with his ears poking out from the set, and Kermit looks at him and says, hey, that's cute, but you're breaking our reality.
That was a nice little moment.
I didn't mind
that would be cute if they pointed out the fourth wall breaking more often of like why this doesn't work.
If it was ever a problem before, but it's happened dozens of times on the show.
A couple other times.
You literally just came out of a television screen, Kermit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. 5 seconds ago, you were tossed through a TV that you were pulled into, and now you're mad at Bean for doing the same thing. Well, Kermit solves the Gonzo problem by fast-forwarding Gonzo, as he says, I think, to get rid of him, which feels a bit dramatic. Yeah. But he comes to the end of the tape and turns into color bars and wanders off as the real time Gonzo shows back up for work to tell us about
Does it feel like
Camilla
he's
winning.
murdering tape Gonzo to you?
It does.
Yeah.
It feels,
it feels a bit to like
him.
he's moving him to the end of his life, not just to the end of the scene.
Yeah.
This part also felt very Muppet Vision pre-show. Like this felt like a natural like precursor to the Muppet Vision pre-show.
It is so fascinating watching Jim Henson Hour to see how they like panned for gold in this Jim Henson Hour to make so much of this exist in Muppet Vision, a thing that truly works.
Yeah.
And so much of it is pulled from Jim Henson Hour. Like Bean Bunny's whole character at this point pretty much only exists in this too cute to fail sort of character because of Jim Henson Hour. Waldo C. Graphic only exists because of this. And somehow...
and nobody gives a shit how Waldo C. Graphic existed before either. No one's going to care. We'll just make him be born in this one.
No, but somehow, like, there was a chance that the Muppet Vision 3D could have been the same quality level as Muppet Television.
Yeah, that Flash would be in it. Be like,
The star. Jim Henson just walks out and is like, I'd like to introduce you to my favorite Muppet, Flash.
Well, it was what was it? Sponsored by Kodak, I think. So
Yeah.
like, Flash would have been a built-in pun.
Oh, yeah.
right?
shoot. Yeah,
Man.
we got yeah.
Missed opportunity, Muppet Vision 3D. Too late now. 35 years later.
Well, through the magic of videotape, they're going to present a pre-recorded Buster Poindexter finale. And he calls for Kermit to come join him. And Kermit's really like, that's not how videotape works, Buster. And Gonzo takes the remote and uses it to transport him and Kermit into the finale. Using what video feature? Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Who cares?
The
Who
button.
cares?
I thought for sure he was going to say something. Anything.
Yeah.
Picture in picture.
related.
That was a thing back then,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Just say the words picture in picture and I would buy it. But instead he just goes, aha! And you're like, okay, you had to fast forward and rewind previously to solve this problem. What button did you just hit?
He's got the remote control from the Adam Sandler movie.
Click.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But that one
Don't
was more
ever-
logical. You were rewinding and fast forwarding.
That's right, and it was given to him by God. The picture in picture would have been cute because they could have pictured themselves into it and then stepped out of the frame into the. That would have been cool.
Yeah. But instead we just get a pretty straightforward Buster Poindexter performance of, again, not hot, 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 but a song called All Night Party that sounds like it is hot, 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 but not for legal reasons.
Yeah.
My memory of
It's
this
the
was
vibe.
absolutely that he sings hot, hot, hot. I was like, here
That's
comes
the
hot.
only
I
thing that
wrote down
face
in my
can sing.
notes, hot, 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 expecting to be able to write something about this. It's only to find that it was All Night Party.
There's a couple times in the song where it feels like it tricked me, where like the bridge, like whatever, like the pre-chorus is ramping up and I'm like, oh, so now it's hot, hot, hot. And it's like, nope, still not hot, hot, hot. Like you thought it was going to be, still not hot, hot, hot. But this, yeah, again, the mishmash of ideas of breaking the videotape premise from the beginning was weird. Statler and Waldorf are here though, which is kind of fun. And it wraps up with Kermit just leaving us because he's like, hey, this party's going to go all night. So why would you want to stay and have fun with us? You should leave and go watch a lion.
Just one more thing about All Night Party that I appreciated was the cinematography, the filmmaking of this bit, where it's like a handheld camera in the party that's a mix of people and Muppets. Reminded me very much of Muppets Go Hollywood in a good way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously not taking advantage of that very much, but
Mm-hmm.
it reminded me of something I like. So I like that
Yeah.
part.
So here comes the story with the lion in it, is how we are told about this thing. Jim also points out there's a pedestal in front of the lion waiting.
Oh, this
because
made me
Kermit sent
sad.
it over to put an Emmy on.
Oh, come on, guys.
Jim was so used to winning Emmys at this point. Like they had so many Emmys. It's like, yeah, so we'll just get one for this too.
Yeah,
Boom.
of course. To be fair, I think there is an Emmy won for Jim Henson Hour. I don't think for this episode necessarily, but I think there is some directing or something Emmy won at some point for something related to it. But
I think the storyteller by itself has won an Emmy as well.
that's possible. I think maybe there was a
Yeah.
directing Emmy for Jim for that.
Oh, he won
but-
directing for Dog City.
That's
it
what he
was.
won.
Yeah.
We hear the story of the troll with the daughter that at first I was like, is this daughter going to matter at all? Because for a story to start off with, a guy had a daughter, but she ran away. So we got a different daughter and he treats her like shit. I was like, okay.
Okay, so there's these kids and they're playing basketball at night. It's really important. They'll come back later.
But yeah, it's so, I don't know. This is not one of my favorite storytellers because as Sam alluded to, it doesn't have a lesson really. Nothing's really happening aside from the thought line, just solving everyone's problems with magic. And it features a villain who isn't even whimsical. He just likes to beat the shit out of his adopted daughter, which,
yeah,
you
he
know,
was scary.
isn't fun to hear over and over that he's threatening to beat her with a big stick.
Also, like it's two stories that don't really seem connected. You know, it's like first you got the thought line that's helping the lady and she's getting rid of the troll and da da da, and then cut to, well, now she's a princess and she's got this prince, and then there's this other troll, and then this other thing happens, and like there's a very obvious line in between these two stories that they were like, I don't know, what if the trolls are related? Can we do that?
And when we get to the second troll, the daughter, and starts that, I'm like, how much longer is this thing? Like, we have a whole other story now starting with this troll daughter and tricking her into giving over a guy who maybe she doesn't actually care about. That's also a weird level of stakes of like,
I got
does she
confused
actually
too because at
care?
one point, yeah, the storyteller's like, but eventually he's not going to love her anymore. But then doesn't he say something like that? Like beauty fades or whatever. But
It
I don't
was
remember that, but-
unclear what the spell was on Mr. Sean Bean and what he
Yes, Sean
knew.
Bean.
If it was just
Yeah,
the
we
fact
didn't-
that
we
he
didn't
was
mention it was
sleeping
Sean
through
Bean.
things. It's
Yeah.
Sean Bean.
I
Sean
didn't
Bean,
notice it
he's
was him
famous.
because of the quality of the thing, but it was indeed
Yeah,
him.
does not die in this, by the way. I was kind of hoping he would, and then maybe
Just
we
to
can figure out,
continue.
is this the first time that he ever died
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
screen?
he died on
That would have been
screen.
fascinating.
One of my lines I did write down that I enjoyed from this was when the troll is tasking her with emptying out the pond with a spoon. Is she picks up a ladle that has a bunch of holes in it, and she just goes, "Oh, lion, my spoon is full of holes."
That was very funny.
I just enjoyed that.
Reading the description of the fairy tale, for real, it's basically exactly the same, except with like the lion is an old lady instead of a lion, which I
Sam,
think was a good.
I think the
was a
problem we've
good
run into
switch.
before is that it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, they should change it because they have before
can-
changed it, so they should
Yeah.
change it this time too. Yeah.
I also am curious. The lion can build a palace in a night. He can put feathers in bags. He can drink most of a pond. Why didn't he just drink the whole pond?
There's a
He had
limit.
to pee.
I think.
He had to pee, Matt.
He can build a palace overnight, but he is supposed to drink the pond dry to help out the girl, and he misses like a little puddle of mud at the bottom.
It's
that the
all
troll
muddy and
trips
gross
in.
down there. He's got limits.
Yeah, you don't want to drink that.
Okay, where's the limit between drinking a pond and building a palace?
Yeah, and he could have like
Here's-
made the sun be really bright and dried the
Yeah.
mud out or something.
It also
but he
seems like
didn't.
he's going way out of his way to do this stuff for this lady. It was
Yeah,
like,
what's
just
this guy's
take her
deal?
somewhere else.
Yeah.
Just like
you
get
can
on
fly
my
her
back.
anywhere
Let's
in the
go
world.
somewhere. Yeah.
No, I won't do that until you've been beaten.
Right. Yes. 3 or 4 more beatings, and then we'll get you out of here.
Well, he does build the palace. It does have a trick door that causes the troll to fall in. And hey, the troll problem solved because the troll just fell to his death.
Yeah. In the first place, you should have just made a gun.
Yeah.
Just kill the
And
troll.
that's-
His
Done.
guns.
And that's the story of where guns came from.
As Sam also said, somehow she becomes a princess because she's given a palace, but also is rich, I guess. I don't know if the lion
Well, the
built a
castle
vault full
came
of
with-
coins.
The castle's like in Skyrim when you buy a house and it's full of stuff
It was
already.
built overnight, Sam.
Well,
But-
it's
but
magic.
no,
and
but
she
there was
walks in, it
stuff in
full of
there.
gold. It was full
Yeah,
of
when they
gold and
go
stuff
in.
like that.
There's like
was the lion
candles and
able-
food.
It was
Did
fully
the lion
furnished
create
by the
people?
lion. No, she hired them with the gold the lion made.
Mm,
Maybe there was lots of
okay.
other times in that between that where she was like, "Oh, I'm so sad," wee," and then she like pretended, and she was like, "I
like,
wish,
oh, if I just take a little nap, I'll wake up and I'll have friends.
if only I had a wait staff." Yeah,
There's also that thing of like, if you own property, you're like kind of royalty. I feel like that
Oh,
happens
that's
a lot in
true,
these old
that's
stories.
true.
I mean, they do
That's
say like
true.
word spreads when she has a palace. Like all these suitors start showing up of like, hey, I can
Yeah.
live in this palace with you. But she has eyes for the gardener, played by Sean Bean. They fall in love, but their wedding day, he disappears. She goes to find him after she's wandering around for a while. She finds the lion, who flies her through the sky all the way to a mysterious town. He gives her 3 gifts and is like, hey, use these wisely.
3 walnuts full of
3
infinite,
big old walnuts full of weird
infinite
shit.
gems and gold. Yeah,
And we see Sean Bean, who does not recognize her anymore because he's been cursed by a troll daughter who is twice as ugly and twice as foul.
A trollop.
When the woman says she collects handsome men like ornaments, and she goes, "My ornamen," she calls them.
that was
My first
insane.
reaction was like-
that was
My
nuts.
first reaction was like, "This old lady's crazy. There's no way she calls them that." And then the trollop comes in and is like, "My ornament, my ornament."
She says
And
it
I'm like,
so many times.
ugh.
Stop trying to make ornament happen, guys.
"Ooh, new commitment T-shirt." But yes, it turns out the 3 gifts are silk, gold, and gems, which the princess is going to trade for a night with your betrothed.
It's
which
the
is
old
Sean
Fraggle Rock
Bean.
thing where the same thing just happens 3 times, right?
Yes,
Where it's
and when it
just
happened the
like,
second time, and she didn't change her strategy whatsoever, I was like, "Well,
you just
yeah,
wasted
I think we
those
all knew
infinite
that wasn't going
gold.
to work."
Yeah.
I also like the dog who is so happy when the troll dies.
Yes,
It's
the
like,
dog in this
good.
one is pretty good.
I love the dog. I wish the dog had more to do in this episode.
Yeah, we've seen so many times the dog gets excited about like a character dying or something like that, and the storyteller has to be like, "Well, he's not really dead," and you're like, "Oh, disappointing the dog."
I feel like the dog doesn't like this story either. I'm getting that impression from him where he's kind of like he's like
He
laying
does kinda
down
sleep
the whole
through
time.
most of it.
He's just like, meh, okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
he does the thing that I feel like someone else in the room with you who has to watch this with you would do. You're like laying down, relaxing,
Yeah.
occasionally looking up.
Look
like,
up every now
is
and
this worth my time?
And they go,
No.
"Ha, that guy fell in a hole."
Yeah.
All right.
This seems important to you, so I'll stay in the room.
Yeah.
I also want to just say, I'm sure you guys talked about this in previous episodes for Jim Henson Hour, but like that Thought Lion puppet is amazing.
It's great.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I
As a
understand
child, I
why
was
they wanted to
truly
use him.
tricked into thinking that was a real lion.
Though just the articulation of its lips is so beautiful,
Yeah.
and that you don't see it do that because it doesn't talk, and the rest of it is kind of like,
Yep.
but it has all that stuff. Why don't you just make it talk?
And he's voiced by Michael Kilgariff. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. Who was also the general and the Gartham Master in Dark Crystal.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a few voices of the trolls and Thought Lion in this that are, familiar if you've seen the right things. They've been in a number of things that you would be like, oh, yeah, those guys.
As is true of all British guys, right?
Yeah. When we were talking about Monster Maker, somebody called us out for that, or we were like talking about somebody in there, and they're like, how did you not mention they were this person? And I'm like, I only looked so far on IMDb.
Were they on Doctor Who? Were they in Harry Potter? Like,
I think they were in one of the Pride and Prejudice versions through the years.
Sure.
I don't remember which one.
I saw that the woman who plays what's her name, the princess, I didn't write her name down. She was on like Absolutely Fabulous. She was a recurring character on that.
Michael Kilgariff was on lots of Doctor Who. So there you go.
Hey.
Well, Jim compliments the Thought Lion at the end of this episode for being great. And like Sam said earlier, tries to get him to talk, but he says, I have nothing further to say. Jim says, well, maybe next week.
Please help me. I'm drowning. Throw me a life raft, Lion, please. He's like, at night, he's like so sad. He's like, I wish my show was successful. And then he like looks around for the Thought Lion.
It's like, my powers have limits, Jim.
The Thought Lion is like, I wish I wasn't on this show anymore. I know what I'll do. I'll get it canceled.
Do you think that the Thought Lion in the world of Jim Henson's intros and outros is trapped in that world? Like, do you think that he's in this
platform?
Like, yeah,
That's where he comes
because Jim
from.
takes the platform away when he leaves. Do you think that's why he's mad at Jim Henson? He's like,
because
please
he
let me
has
go.
him.
I have these
bet.
poor women who are getting beat up that I need to help, and you're keeping
Jim,
me here
you are
in the green
responsible
screen
for some horrible
world.
things happening.
I mean, metatextually, Jim could say, you have all your powers back. Like, you could do whatever you want. But
He
yeah.
could
true.
free him like at the end of Aladdin,
That's
but he
true.
just chooses not to.
Wow.
Wow. We really dragged Jim Henson there at the end. Didn't expect that to happen. Maybe it's time we move on to something else and say, hey guys, what non-Muppet things did you enjoy this week?
So I just saw the new Knives Out movie, the Wake Up Dead Man. That was very fun. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I liked it too.
And yesterday I went to see Wicked: For Good, and I did not like that very much.
That
so,
one was not very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They should have called it Wicked, not very good. Ayo.
Hey.
Everybody who was like on different review sites and stuff, everybody who knew about the play was like in the review of the first movie, they were like, the second, don't get your hopes up for the second movie. 'Cause it's
Yeah.
like, I think notoriously
It's just
bad.
like really sad because it's act
Yeah.
2 of a play. Like there's no levity in it. Everyone's just miserable.
Yeah.
And you
then
get to
when I
spend 2.5
found out-
hours
The
in
moment
that
they
world.
said they were
What a
splitting it into
joy.
2, everyone was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. And then when I found out what songs were added for it, it was like, well, then what the heck was the second act of this play without the 2 like best songs in the movie?
Yeah, right.
Well, Sam, what'd you watch?
I watched The Big Sleep for the first time. I don't know how I've never seen it because I love black and white noir movies. It was so good, but I was so confused about what the hell was happening. And then I was reading the Wikipedia. Well, I was so confused, and I told Rachel, I have no idea what's going on. Then a moment later, Philip Marlowe said, I have no idea what's going on. Like in the movie, he was like, it was like the end, and he was like, I don't know what's happening. Then I read that William Faulkner, who co-wrote the screenplay, also had no idea what was going on in the book that he was adapting.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, all right, maybe that's the point of this or something like that. But it was so good. It was like the sexiest movie with no sex in it that I've ever seen in my entire life.
They
They're
did good at
so-
that in the 40s, I feel like. 30s and 40s, they were like, we can be kind of sexy.
This one especially, though, is like this fade out means they're having sex now.
Mhm.
It's like sick. And there's
Yeah.
so many babes in this movie. So that's what I saw.
Jessica
Highly
Rabbit.
recommend
She
it.
make it in there?
Jessica Rabbit's in there for just for a second. She's got a
Yeah.
background.
You got to pause right at the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I watched Die Hard.
Is it a
And
Christmas movie or is it not a Christmas movie?
Not a Christmas movie.
Shut up. It's got Christmas
I-
decorations everywhere, you freak.
I rewatched it because I hadn't seen it in so long, and I know that debate rages.
He's only
on.
there because it's Christmas.
He has a machine gun.
Right.
Ho, ho, ho.
Yes,
Yeah.
Matt.
No.
Okay.
For a Christmas movie to be a Christmas movie, it has to make me feel like,
Has to have
I don't
something in
know,
it.
jolly in any way whatsoever.
Oh,
and I love the
disagree with
movie.
that.
It's a
I
great
disagree
movie.
with that.
I don't understand that Christmas movies have to be jolly.
Yeah, I don't
You can't
get
have a
that.
sad
I-
Christmas movie. You can have a scary Christmas movie.
Name one.
It's Krampus.
Krampus.
Yeah. Or
Yeah,
Silent
well,
Night, Deadly Night.
I also don't
Silent
watch
Night.
Black
those.
Christmas.
Black
There's a lot of
Black
them.
Christmas, Black Christmas, legitimately one of the best Christmas movies and one of the best horror movies ever made.
I also don't like horror movies, so maybe this is a me thing, but I will say my official ruling, and everyone can not disagree with me because it's the law. Die Hard, not a Christmas movie.
Okay. Sorry, I brought it up.
It's a great movie.
It's a good movie.
It's an
though.
amazing
It's a hell
movie.
of a film. Yeah.
It makes me realize how bad the fourth and fifth Die Hard movies are because John
Oh,
McClane
yeah.
is not even the same character anymore. But
And they have to have some other sound effect over the yippee-ki-yay line so that he doesn't actually swear, so they can keep that
Yeah.
PG-13 rating.
everyone should go watch Die Hard, whether or not it's a Christmas movie.
I do the foot flexing thing on planes all the time. I don't take my shoes off, but in my shoes, I do go.
Yeah, you can't take your shoes
You know
off
better.
because
You know what happens when you
yeah.
take your shoes off.
I would
Then-
yeah.
The
you have to walk
terrorists
on glass
come.
later.
Someone breaks some glass near you.
Yeah, I gotta
What are you
save my
gonna do?
ex-wife. I'm not gonna save my ex-wife with no shoes on. Are you fucking kidding me? Sorry, ex-wife. I don't have my shoes.
Well, before we get out of here, Joe, where should people go to check things out from you?
I hope that everyone who loves Muppets will go to toughpigs.com or follow Tough Pigs on any of our social media channels. We're on almost all of them, at least the ones that aren't run by Nazis. And we're also on Patreon and TeePublic and other places. And as for me personally, you can find me on Letterboxd at Tough Pigs Joe, where I'm posting my movie
Oh,
reviews.
I'm following you right now.
Hey!
I get your newsletter too, Joe.
Oh, good. Yeah. Oh, right. I post them on a news. If you're not on Letterboxd and you also want to see reviews of my TV shows and live theater and stuff like that I go see, you can go onto Substack and search for Joe Consumes Media.
Definitely go do that because, Joe doesn't just like Muppets. He likes lots of other things too. And it's also fun to hear him talk about them.
Thanks. I like talking about things I like.
Well, thanks again to Joe for being here on Commitment this week. Next time on the podcast, we will be discussing the next episode of the Jim Henson Hour called Garbage. And we will have another special guest, another co-owner of toughpigs.com, Ryan Rowe.
Whoa, I know that guy.
All right.
Yeah.
Tell him I said
would hope
hi.
So, yeah. You guys don't talk very often, I assume.
No. Never met in person.
Well, and you thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Don't forget to go to commitment.com for all your commitment needs or follow us on social media at commitmentpod or at commitment.com on Blue Sky, where you can also follow me at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.